Hey there YouTube, I'm back with another video, the second video installment of my pregnancy journey. So I think that I'm going to maybe do 2 to 3 more videos after this, probably more so leaning towards 2. Today's video I'm going to talk about my pregnancy symptoms and then a little bit of the anxiety that I endured with this pregnancy. So today I am 25 weeks and 2 days. Yeah, 25 weeks and 2 days. I have about 15 more weeks to go. I'm almost there. So excited. I feel the little one moving around all the time. I discovered that we now know that it is a he loves my left side, and he just likes to curl up over there, and if I touch I can feel his body, and then usually if I bother him too much he'll move over to some other part and start kicking in places that I don't really want him to kick. But it's not to the part or to the point right now where it hurts. It's still I don't know how to really explain how it feels. Sometimes it's uncomfortable, but it doesn't hurt, and I still actually love the feeling of him moving around. So I'm going to try not to make this video too long. I don't have much battery on my phone, but I was supposed to record this video weeks ago. So I'm just going to get into it. So first I'm going to talk about backing up a little bit to bridge the last video to this one about how I found out I was pregnant. So my first indication, and at the time I didn't even know that, it wasn't even a thought in my mind that I possibly could be pregnant. It was just, what the heck is going on? And that was extremely sore breasts. When I was a teenager, when I first started menstruating, I knew my cycle was coming because of the tenderness in my breast. Once I became an adult and started taking birth control pills, that symptom went away. Even when I stopped taking birth control, I didn't have the symptom of sore breast prior to a menstrual cycle. So about a year or so ago, I had the sore breast like nobody's business, and it was just kind of a fluke thing. I think I was transitioning between starting birth control again after having been off for several years, and so I had sore breast. But that was just one time, and then the time when I got pregnant, even though I didn't know I was pregnant, I had the sore breast. I mean, they were sore. So that was one indication, although at the time I hadn't thought much about it. Around Thanksgiving time 2019, I went to Orlando, Florida for Thanksgiving to go to Universal Studios. And I really love riding roller coasters. And I went with my friend and her daughter, and her daughter really likes riding roller coasters too, so she was excited to have a partner. My friend doesn't do the roller coasters. So I was getting on and off roller coasters. I was fine. I wasn't sick. I didn't feel any kind of way. But on the car ride to Orlando, it's like an 8-hour drive, I was getting serious nauseous. That didn't come out right. I was getting seriously nauseous. Maybe that's the right way to say it. But yeah, and I don't usually get sick in the car. I don't get car sick. We chalked it up to, it was my friend's driving, because whenever she drives I tend to not feel so good. And then her daughter ended up taking over driving, and I was able to sleep, and so I guess the nausea subsided, but nevertheless I had it. The second to last indication of me being pregnant was missing my period. Now, this was probably the biggest indicator because my period is so predictable. I can predict down to the hour of when it's going to begin. I know that sounds crazy, but for as long as I can remember, I know between this hour and this hour, it's when it's going to start. And it didn't start between that hour, nor did it start anytime that day. And I'm like, this is strange. Maybe it's because I got on the roller coasters. So I waited another day. No period. Okay. Am I pregnant? No. Okay. 3 days. 4 days. 5 days. I spoke with my cousin. I told my mom, I said, Mom, I think I might be pregnant, but I don't know. I hope I am. Blah, 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 blah. By the way, I had only done the deed one time. I told that story in the last video, but anyways, one time. And I didn't think that there was any possible way from that particular time that I could get pregnant. I'm not going to go into the details, but I just didn't think I could. But anyway, so I told my mom, I was like, I think so, but I don't know. My period's late. It's not usually late. I'm going to wait a while. I'm going to wait a full week before I take a pregnancy test. I was talking to my cousin, who we're very close in age, and she told me her story of how she found out she was pregnant and what happened, how many days went by before she took a test. And she's like, just wait the 7 days, full week after your missed period to take the test. I said, okay, fine, I'll wait, but I really, really, really want to know. But I didn't want to take the test too early. So I'm talking to her on day 5 about this. Well, day 6 of my missed period, I wake up, it's a Monday morning, and I'm getting ready for work. I look in the mirror and I see a roadmap of bluish greenish veins running all over my breast. And I'm like, I'm pretty in tune with my body. I pay very close attention to what's going on. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen my veins this pronounced. And I just kept thinking back, like, were they like this yesterday? Were they like this the day before? And I just chalked it up to no, they weren't. They were very prominent, on top of the fact that my breasts were so painfully sore. So on the way to work, I got up. Luckily, I got up in enough time that I could stop at the store on the way to work and pick up a pregnancy test. And that's what I did. Stopped at Walmart right outside where I work, and I went straight to the bathroom. And lo and behold, I got the 2 pink lines on the first response pregnancy test. And that's not necessarily the way I wanted to find out, because I actually thought about documenting my journey here on YouTube with my pregnancy journey. And in the fertility portion, I told you guys a little bit about that last video. I had some hang-ups and I was getting really discouraged, and I actually started recording a video one day on my way to my first fertility treatment, and things just didn't go according to plan, and I just put the idea to document my journey in the back of my head. So needless to say, I was not prepared to record my reaction, record the live reading of the test. But what I did do is I took a picture of the test while I was still sitting on the toilet. I know that's gross, I'm sorry. But I was so excited and I sent it to my mom. Now, my mom's an hour ahead of me in terms of time zone, but she was still sleeping actually when I sent her the message. So I had to call her and wake her up and ask her to check her phone. But anyways, so that was how I found out I was pregnant, and the symptoms leading up to that. And that was on the 9th of December. And at that time, I was, I want to say, 3 weeks pregnant according to my last menstrual cycle. Maybe that was 4 weeks. Or 5 weeks. I think it was 5 weeks, yes. 5 weeks after the start of my first menstrual cycle. So I called the doctor that day. I was seeing the same OBGYN that referred me to my fertility specialist, and I was like, hey, I got a positive home pregnancy test. Can I come in and do the confirmation? And of all the research that I've done, I thought that they would do a blood test to confirm. But no, they did a good old-fashioned pee test, and they said, there's no denying it, you're pregnant. But, so I called on the 9th. I was able to get an appointment for the 13th of December. And it just so happened that my mother and my grandmother were coming into town. We were surprising my grandmother with tickets to see Aaron Neville. It's my grandmother's all-time favorite artist, and she'd never seen him perform in concert, and he was performing here where I live. So my mom and my grandma drove down, and it was just a wonderful weekend of surprises. Was it after? No, it was before the concert. We had dinner, and told my grandma I was pregnant. My mom got to come to my first appointment with me. We planned it out, so they drove down during the day. My mom made it when I was about 3 minutes in the doctor's office, so she made it just in time. And we did the pee test, and it was positive. The doctor or the nurse, they told me, gave me a packet of information, told me what I can and can't eat, can and can't drink, medications and all that stuff that I should stay away from. And then we scheduled for my first ultrasound, which took place on December 23rd, which at that time I was 6 weeks pregnant. So rewinding a little bit, I found out at 4 weeks pregnant that I was pregnant. And then 2 weeks later is when I had my first ultrasound, which was at 6 weeks. That's a lot. I'm sorry. But anyways, that's the story of how I found out. And I've been happy ever since. So now I want to transition to some of my symptoms. Now, every woman is different with how they handle pregnancy and the symptoms that they endure. So this is just my account of what I went through. Besides the sore breast, that went on for about a month and a half to 2 months. So painful that I had to start sleeping in bras. I ended up buying maternity bras pretty early in the game because my regular bras were too constricting, and whenever I took them off, my breasts would fall and they would just hurt. So I bought some cotton maternity bras and I ended up sleeping in them. And the pain was so great that it would wake me up in the middle of the night, so I didn't sleep very well the first couple months. But after that 2 months, the pain tapered off and I haven't had breast pain since. But I do have very sensitive nipples. Just any light brush across them, it's like, ooh. And when I say sensitive, it's not a good sensitive. It's the pain kind of sensitive, but it's not as painful as my breasts were in the beginning. So besides that, the biggest issue I had throughout the first trimester was indigestion. Now, in all of my research and reading and watching videos of other pregnant women, they say that constipation is a common pregnancy symptom. But for me, I don't like to label what I went through as constipation, because when I think of constipation, I think of it as being difficult to pass a stool. For me, it's just that whenever I ate, my food would sit in my stomach. There was no digestion going on through the intestines, and then it was just hard to get it out. It just wasn't moving out of my stomach. One of the things that happens with pregnancy is that your body releases a hormone called relaxin, and because of that hormone, it slows down the digestion process. So I must have had a lot of that relaxin in my body because I was not digesting anything. So I resorted to taking laxatives once a week. Now, the laxative that I took was milk of magnesia, which was something safe that the doctor said that I could take. Excuse me. I think I took Docalex, not the stool softener, but the laxative, which worked wonders. But my doctor highly advised against taking laxatives because it can induce labor, and we don't want that, especially with it being so early in my pregnancy. So the doctor recommended that I take Colace twice a day, which is a stool softener, to help me go. I was taking that, I was going, but it was not nearly enough as what I needed to go because I was miserable. Like, I can't explain to you how miserable, how lethargic I was, which I'm going to talk about in a few minutes, my excessive sleepiness or tiredness. But just before we get to that, my indigestion played a huge role in that as well. I just felt like all my food sat there. There were toxins building up in my body, and I was just really sluggish. I would come home from work at 4:30 and I'd be asleep by 5, and I'd sleep until 4 or 5 o'clock the next morning. We'll talk about that in a few minutes though. So indigestion, that was my biggest issue in the first trimester, and it was just horrible enough to say that I don't think I ever want to get pregnant again. I didn't have the nausea, I didn't have the throwing up, I didn't have many headaches, I had a handful. But some of the things that you hear as the common pregnancy symptoms I did not experience. In addition to my indigestion, I could not pass gas from the lower regions. Let's see. I have my little list here of the things I wanted to talk about. So, my job, I know I've kind of talked about it before, but I am an instructor for the Air Force, a glorified teacher. We don't like to call ourselves teachers because we don't teach, we instruct or facilitate. But anyways, I was talking to one of my students one day, and she told me that birth control pills, not birth control, oh my Brian, my brain, prenatal vitamins, because of all the iron and all the supplements that are in there, it could cause constipation. And I was like, you know what? That could be a factor as to why I'm having so much indigestion issues. So I briefly stopped taking them. When I say briefly, I mean for maybe about 5 or 6 weeks. It may not have been that long, but it felt like it was a long time that I stopped taking them. Don't worry, I've been chastised, I've been told, take your vitamins. I talked to my doctor about it. They gave me some samples of some vitamins to try, and I found one that I really liked. And thankfully, all of the samples that they gave me and the one that I ended up liking have some softeners built into them. So let me just tell you, everything is flowing just fine. No more issues with the indigestion or not being able to poop. I know this is raw, forgive me you guys, but how many people tell you about the down and dirty raw parts of pregnancy, right? Okay, so that's good. I got new vitamins. Everything's good to go in the digestion department. Except heartburn. Now, before I got pregnant, I did have an issue with acid reflux. I was on prescription medication to help manage it. Also, diet change helps to manage it. But with pregnancy, no matter what I do, it's horrible. I had sleepless nights, sleeping with lots and lots of pillows to try to be elevated. And Tums were my best friend. Now, Tums are nasty, very chalky, but something in my brain flipped to make them taste good to me because I needed to take them to calm down my heartburn. So after a couple trips to the doctor, I had my monthly appointments. I told them, I said, Tums isn't really working, and I'm miserable. So they told me about a over-the-counter medication I can take. What am I taking? I don't even know what I'm taking, you guys. I don't know if it's Prevacid. something that starts with a P, but it works. When I take it properly, it works. It's drastic change. But needless to say, I still have the heartburn. It's not as bad as it was before I started taking the medication, but really bad. I'm out of breath, you guys. I'm trying to get that. Got a few more things to talk about. All right, the next one is gag reflexes. Back to that hormone relaxant. It relaxes literally all of the muscles in your body because it's helping your body prepare for childbirth. You know, your hips have to spread and all that stuff. But in the meantime, it relaxes all your muscles and joints.
There are no time set.
She scared me. That's my Amazon Echo device. And she just randomly said something. Anyways. Well, with the heartburn, really quick before I move on to the next thing. I have a lot of burping. I think I told you guys that in the last video, but the burping helps to not regurgitate anything that's in my stomach. So I've burped a couple times in this video. Forgive me, can't control it. But the lack of gag reflexes. Whenever I brush my teeth, well, I should say my tongue more specifically, I can't not cough. And there's been a few mornings where I've thrown up because my gag reflexes suck. I cannot brush my tongue without having that deep stomach cough, and with that cough it just contracts everything and just makes me throw up. Sorry about that. But it's what I go through. In addition to that, when I'm sleeping, sometimes I'll wake up coughing, or I don't know for sure if this is what's really going on, but I feel like I stop breathing when I wake up. But I think it's my trachea that has been relaxed, and it might collapse when I'm sleeping, and so I wake up coughing to get the air back in. I don't know if that's really what's going on. That's just what it feels like. So, yeah. All right, another symptom or issue that I have is numbness and tingling in my extremities. It's mostly in my arms and hands because when I sleep, I'll sleep like this, or like this, or like this, on either side. And so I'll wake up in the middle of the night, my arm is cold from being numb, and I have to shake it out, and all the feeling comes back, all the tingling. And from the things that I've read, that is caused by carpal tunnel, or pregnancy onset carpal tunnel. Right before I found out I was pregnant, I had actually gone to a neurologist for them to do a nerve conduction test, and they determined that I do not have carpal tunnel. But once again, that was before I knew I was pregnant, so I may have developed it over time, or it could be something else. I don't know, but it's not a fun feeling to wake up every single night with numb arms and hands and fingers. And then lastly, of my symptoms, my little one in here kicking. I don't think he likes my position I'm sitting in. But the extreme tiredness. So that's a common symptom, but I don't know if you guys saw the video. That's probably been over a year since I did it, but I talked about my narcolepsy journey. I do suffer from a condition or a sleep disorder called narcolepsy. I'm not really going to get too much into that. You can go back and look at that video, but on top of my sleeping disorder, narcolepsy, where it's in a nutshell easy for me to fall asleep, especially during the daytime, I have the pregnancy tiredness on top of that. So I told you guys a little while ago that as a result of my indigestion and then just pregnancy in general, and then you have narcolepsy on top of that, I work 10-hour days, and then I have an hour commute to and from work, 30 minutes there, 30 minutes back. So my my days, if I don't stop at the store or get gas or anything, are, about 13 hours long that have to do with work. And then I come home. Like I said, I'm usually home by like 4:30, sleep by 5, and I sleep until it's time to wake up and go to work again. At least that's what was happening up until maybe about a month and a half ago. And then baby, for the longest time, up until about a month and a half ago, would wake me up sometime, it doesn't matter what time, but in the 2 o'clock hour. I would always wake up, never fail, every day, no matter what time zone I was in. I would wake up. And I mean, I wasn't awake for long, but that's just when the baby woke me up. And he was small at the time. I didn't feel him or anything. It's just, never had this issue until I got pregnant. But that sums up my pregnancy symptoms. Really quick, let me see. I've been going for 26 minutes already. Oh my gosh. I want to talk about my cravings and then some anxiety. So I didn't have any strange cravings like pickles and ice cream. That's none of that going on. But I did have some cravings. And they weren't like strong, I gotta have it, 3 o'clock in the morning cravings. It was just whenever maybe I saw a picture or somebody said something about a food item or a meal that I may not have had in quite a few years, then I was like, oh, I want that. Let me see, I can't think off the top of my head, but it's something that I wanted. I will say the other day, I was in the grocery store and I saw some red hot sausages. You guys from the East Coast, probably a little bit of the Midwest, you might know what I mean by the red hots. And so I bought a pack of those with some bread. Oh, it was so good. But it wasn't anything that I craved. It was just something that I saw and I hadn't had in a while. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna eat that. Green Jello. One thing, I don't really care for Jello. I'll eat it, but it's not something that I'm like, oh, Jello. And I think I saw a picture of some Jello and I was like, I want some green Jello. So I bought some. I haven't made it yet because that craving has passed, but I'll probably eat it at some point. But some things that have been ongoing of cravings that I've had have been pickles. Not pickles and ice cream, just straight up pickles, the kosher or dill, whatever they're called, the sour ones in the jar that are like spears. They don't have to be spears, it's just, that's what I usually get. Before pregnancy, I preferred to get like bread and butter pickles or gherkins. And the only time I ate the savory pickles was like on a burger or something, which is very rare. But I bought the pickles and I eat them straight out the jar. And then the other thing is the grapefruit, and most specifically pink grapefruit. I never liked grapefruit before I was pregnant. I don't like grapefruit juice. The times that I have tried to eat grapefruit, I would pour a boatload of sugar on them and it still didn't taste good. But I love the smell of the grapefruit, the taste, the juice. For some reason, they taste sweet to me now and I can't get enough. And hopefully I can continue liking grapefruit when this is all over. But, I know things will change once the baby gets here. So that's it for cravings. Next thing is anxiety. I'll try to make this a little short. Maybe I'll go into it a little more in my next video because this one's getting really long. Anxiety. So I was very happy and excited to be pregnant. I told you guys I've been trying for many years, and if you look at the last video, you'll understand what I mean. So when I finally got pregnant, I'm now 34 years old. I'm not a young first-time mother. So the anxiety kicked in, like, I finally got pregnant. It took this long to get pregnant. I want to stay pregnant. I know it's kind of a morbid thing to think about, and it's something that I prayed about daily, and I thank the Lord daily that everything was okay, but I did not want to miscarry. And it's still an anxiety or a worry I don't want to call worry, a concern that I have now, which I'm so grateful he's big enough that I can feel him moving around now, so that's always some reassurance. But in the beginning, when I couldn't feel him, and I was only going to the doctor once a month, and it wasn't guaranteed that I would get an ultrasound, I was worried out of my mind that everything was okay. I was checking my underwear constantly to make sure that there was no blood. I wake up in the middle of the night and if it felt strange down there, I was going to the bathroom. If I had any kind of cramping, I was going to the bathroom just to make sure, So along with that anxiety came the anxiety of creating my baby registry. People were asking me from the very beginning, once I started telling people that I was pregnant, oh, where are you registered? Where are you going to get registered? And I'm like, I haven't done one yet. I'm trying to wait until whenever. When's your baby shower? Well, I'm not planning one yet because, wanted to wait till things were okay. So I finally broke down after I finished the first trimester and I did a baby registry. Maternity clothing. In the beginning, I didn't really need it. I actually lost weight from my pre-pregnancy. So when I told you guys I went to Orlando, I'll just share my weight. I know a woman doesn't usually share her weight with you, but whatever. Transparency, right? When we went on that trip to Orlando, I weighed 228 pounds. I came back from Orlando and I started a diet or lifestyle change, so to speak. That thing really worked, and when I am done being pregnant, I'm going to go back on that way of eating. But I had lost 9 pounds, I think, in 2 weeks doing that meal plan, and I was able to keep it off until about 2 weeks ago. I just now hit, well, it wasn't that long ago, maybe like a week ago, I just now hit my pre-pregnancy weight of 228 within the last week and a half. So, and I'm 6 months pregnant already. So yeah, I was able to keep off that weight that I lost. So with the maternity clothing, I went to the maternity store to get some things, but they were going out of business, and so they didn't have a lot. I think I ended up buying a dress, and then they closed. Then there's another maternity store like 2 hours away from the house. So one day I drove up there and I just got overwhelmed and the anxiety kicked in, because at that time I was not big enough to even need maternity clothes. I could still fit my regular clothes just fine, and so I didn't want to go and buy something and then get to the point where I need it and it didn't fit, and then I couldn't return it because the store was closing. So that was just an ordeal there. But I will say I'm finally showing, and I am in maternity clothes. My clothes pre-pregnancy do not fit. And here we go. This is what I'm working with. So I got these from Walmart. They're very comfortable. Let's see. Working while pregnant. So in the beginning I didn't have an issue with it, but I had a little bit of anxiety because, hold on, you guys, I gotta make sure this is still working. Okay, I just got a message on my phone saying something. But anyways, so the nature of my job, like I said, I teach or instruct, facilitate, and so I'm around people all day, all the time, and people are around me, and I didn't want to risk getting sick. So, I just made sure to tell my students, hey, I'm pregnant, make sure that you guys are sanitizing, washing your hands, please cough into your elbow, blah, 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 blah. So there's a little bit of anxiety with that, and then of course COVID-19 came around, and so it's a little bit more challenging, but now we all wear masks and whatnot. And I've been afforded the opportunity to work from home in the times when I am not what we call unpoding, so when I'm not physically up teaching, I can work from home and do the things that I need to do here. This last thing I want to talk about is probably not an anxiety, but probably back up to a symptom. Before I got pregnant, I had back problems already, and in the first trimester, those back problems went away. Once again, that's probably because of the hormone relaxin, and I still had the hormone in me, but my back is hurting more now, and I guess that's attributed to the fact that my belly's getting bigger and heavier. And I see a chiropractor, but once again, with COVID-19, I can't go see him as frequently as I wish, and I used to get a monthly massage as well, and I can't do that. So I'm suffering just a little bit, but I'll make it through. You know, there was a time where there were no chiropractors and massage therapists, and women got through just fine with their aches and pains. All right, last thing, for real. Some of the apps that I use, they're pregnancy tracking apps. Just in case you're interested, if you're pregnant or looking to get pregnant, or just curious, the apps that I use are Baby Center, The Bump, and Pregnancy Plus. And so they all give you a lot of information. Some of the information is the same, some of it is slightly different. Like what size your baby should be now, how much it should weigh, how much weight you should gain, and there's lots of different articles on all different types of subjects to help you out. Of course, there's the book, What to Expect When You're Expecting. Oh, that's another app I have, What to Expect. I have 4 apps. What to Expect When You're Expecting. I have a book here, I'll show you guys, the Pregnancy Bible. Excuse me. So, all kinds of resources to help you answer whatever questions, and they've all helped me tremendously. One last thing I want to part with, I can't remember if I spoke about this in my last video, but I am a veteran. I served just about 10 years in the Air Force, and on top of that, I am a disabled veteran, 100%. I have insurance through my job, but one of the blessings in being a disabled veteran, and you don't even have to be disabled, so to speak, if you're a veteran, this service is provided to you. So the VA administration, they do not have maternity care. Now they have gynecologists, but they don't have obstetricians, and they don't deliver babies or provide care for babies. So what they do is they refer you out to a civilian doctor. And so that's what they did for me, and 100% of my pregnancy is covered by the VA. I'm about to have tears because this is something really huge. I don't know if you guys know how much it costs to have a baby, and like I said, I do have insurance where it will cover the majority of it, but that doesn't cover my co-pays for all of my visits, and any additional testing that may have to be done, medications that I have to get from the pharmacy and pay for. The insurance might cover 75% of it, but then I'm coming out of pocket, however much money for the prescriptions. But the VA is covering all of that. They're covering all of my doctor's appointments, all of my labs, birth. They're even covering the baby for up to 7 days after birth for anything that may happen to the baby. I think I'm covered for 6 weeks after the baby is born. They're sending me a free breast pump, maternity nursing bras, and just a wealth of other things. I can't even remember the list of things that they're going to send me, but they sent me a little packet in the mail. So I just wanted to put out that little bit of information out there. If you are a female veteran that is looking to have a child, or is pregnant, and things are kind of tight, especially with what's going on in the world now, contact your local VA hospital and let them know. can get with the maternity coordinator, and it's completely free of charge. And so I thank you, VA, for taking so good care of me. That didn't make sense. Thank you for taking care of me. I appreciate it. It means a lot that I can provide this service. So I am going to conclude my video here. The next one I do, it'll probably be in a few weeks, but it's going to be talking about all of the free stuff you can get being pregnant. So I look forward to that video. I'm going to show you all the stuff that I got. I still have some stuff that is on the way, so look forward to that video. Thank you all for enduring and watching this video. I know it was crazy long, but that's my journey, and there's like 2-3 more videos to come, and you all be blessed, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.